I've come a long way in the industry. I want to recognize somebody very special in my life to me, Joe Tritola, sitting right there. Joe Tritola found me on Facebook in 2018 when I was crap. I didn't know how to do anything. And I was, under somebody who didn't answer the phone, didn't want to help me. I didn't know how to do a presentation. And Joe took me under his wings. He fought for my releases. He got sent a cease and desist for helping me. And he mentored me throughout the last years, since then. And he actually let me grow up under his wings. And so I'm very thankful for that. And I'm very thankful that this is the first time he's seen me present in public. And I'm thankful that he gets to see this today. So thank you. It's like having your dad in the audience. So today I wanted to share something. I actually just built this presentation just for you guys on Monday. A lot of compliance is coming down the pipeline, and a lot of agents are getting worried about changing their business models and what they do and how they're going to function this AEP with all the changes. And so I wanted to inspire you guys to think a little bit outside the box. You don't have to take everything I'm giving today, but if you just take a nugget, just think outside the box. Everybody at Top Flight, we're changing how we do things. I have some agents who are going to do prescription assistance seminars instead of Medicare 101s. I have some agents who are going to do Social Security seminars instead of Medicare 101s. And I just wanted to give you guys what I think a Social Security workshop should be included. And you don't have to do it like the financial advisors do it. I see all on Facebook, all these Social Security workshops, and they're usually ran by financial advisors who are usually getting very deep in the weeds, right? But they want to talk about your investments. They want to talk about your all the millions of dollars that you probably don't have in the bank and everything. And the average Joe doesn't need all of that. The average Joe needs what I'm going to present to you today. So my entire concept today that I wrote for you guys is how to just do a Social Security workshop where you just give the information that they're seeking. And you can do this as early as 59, because people want to start preparing for retirement before they're checking out at the job. They want to know what they need to line up so they can go to work and give their boss the middle finger, I'm going to pause here. Everybody take out your phones and scan this QR code. If you don't scan this QR code, you are going to be upset by the end of this. All right, I just got asked at the back of the room right before, hey, Joanna, you spoke at Medicare Con, and I didn't get your slides. Can you email them to me? And because of I got 100 of those requests, I just decided to give you my slides right here and a whole lot of gifts in that. So everything you need to do a Social Security workshop is in that package right there. That's my present to you guys for showing up today. The only disclaimer is please don't resell it. Many agents think that they need a fancy certification like the RSSA, NSSA, to be able to do a Social Security workshop and do 20 hours, spend $2,000. And while some of you could go get that, like Sonny, that would be a good thing for Sonny to go do, the basic agent doesn't need to do that just yet. Just follow this step. If you want to learn how to do formulas and advise people on investments and stuff, then you can go do that. And that might be a good lead generation for Joshua or whatever. But the basic agent doesn't need to go do 20 hours and spend $2,500 for basic Social Security information. I think it's just too much in the weeds, in my opinion. So I'm going to give you everything that I think you need. So the first thing that I think everybody should do when you meet somebody, and I would do this at a local library that has computer access, is, hey, Michael, what we're going to do today is we're going to help you log in into your Social Security account and create a Social Security account so you can see your actual earnings record. You want to know what your earnings record looks like years ahead of you retiring at 62 or 67, because if there's missing wages, you want to know so you can go correct them. I actually just had a client, well, not a client, my client's husband, he became disabled at the age of 60. And he said, Joanna, I filed for disability and they denied me. So why'd they deny you? He goes, they didn't even look at my medical records. I said, send me the letter. He sends it to me. I said, this says that you're not insured for disability. Let's look at your earnings history. So I go to the house, I help him log in. I said, this doesn't have the last 10 years of your earnings. He goes, well, I was self-employed and my tax guy was filing my taxes. I said, something happened with the IRS and your taxes. I don't know if it went to the business and not your social. I don't work for the IRS. I don't know exactly. It didn't go to your record. You're going to have to refile and make sure it goes onto your social security number. But that affected him. It affected him claiming social security disability, and he had a heart attack. He was sick, you know? And then it's going to affect his social security at 62 because his amount is going to be significantly lower based on the formula. So that's always why you want to check your earnings and make sure it's accurate, especially if you're self-employed. What information they need to file, when they can file, if they may be entitled on someone else's record, and what they need for that. So this is actually a screenshot of, I logged into mine and just grabbed the screenshot. In here, they can play with the calculator and determine what their earnings are going to look like if they take it now at 62. They're going to wait until 65 or 67 or 70. And they can just play with the numbers. And this is what most people want to know. You don't have to sit there with a calculator and divide by the sum of 22, you know? Like, they just need to know this. This is what it looks like. Now, if you're age 50 now and you're going to put your future earnings there, what it might look like. And it's a you know, a roundabout estimate, but it's going to be pretty on the spot. They're going to want to know if they have any previous marriages or divorces. Hey, you're going to have to go get those marriage licenses, those divorce certificates, because you're going to want to be able to file on their records. They changed the law a couple years ago. When you file on your record, you file on everybody's record that you might be entitled to, so they can determine whose record you're going to get paid the most on. So you're going to need all of your documents. And some people, they might have gotten divorced 20, 30 years ago. So they might have to go to the clerk's office and get a certified copy of that divorce decree, right? Do the homework now so you're not scrambling to do it at 66. How work affects your benefits and how some may not want to file for retirement if their earnings won't allow them to benefit for most of their checks. So before you turn full retirement age, right this year, for people who are turning 65, their full retirement age is 66 and 8 months. If they're working, some of them can collect a Social Security check and get all their checks, and then some of them wouldn't be due all the checks based off of the early retirement test. And this booklet, which is included in that file, on that file, after the presentation, there's 15 documents in there. If you click on the little button, you'll see all the files. This is one of them. It tells them how work affects their benefits. And I think that's what most people need to understand, because if my mom, she retired at 62 because she was only making $8 an hour at the nursing home as a CNA, and she was able to collect both her paycheck and a retirement check and get ahead in life, right? So it might be perfect for someone who has low income, but if someone's making $90,000 and they want to take a Social Security check at 62, they're not going to get any of their checks. Does that make sense? When we talk to people, there's a massive opportunity, because a lot of people, when they want to retire as soon as possible, maybe they're not in a great job, or maybe they're just tired and worn out, want to leave the government like I did, they think that they have to hold on to that job until Medicare age at 65 because they don't think that they're going to have health insurance. This is a massive opportunity to show someone that if they just had Social Security, which is maybe about $2,000 a month for a single person, that they might be able to qualify for a health insurance plan in the marketplace for about $20 a month. And look at this plan. This is a plan in Douglasville, Georgia, where I live. Max out of pocket is $3,000. You can go to the doctors for $5. People don't know this, because people listen to a lot of politicians who think that the marketplace plans are unaffordable. They might be unaffordable if you have $150,000 and you don't qualify for a subsidy at age 63. For many people only have their Social Security. Maybe don't, and it doesn't count what's in the bank. It doesn't count their bank accounts or their 401ks or anything. It just counts their actual income. So this is a good opportunity when you do Social Security seminars to let people know what kind of health insurance they can get if they decide to resign from their job or retire at 62, 63, 64 before they're Medicare eligible. Or what their spouse might be able to get if they are turning 65 and they have a younger spouse, which happens a whole lot. That's why I actually got into ACA, because I was at the Walmart table and people were like, all right, so you're doing my Medicare, but what about my 63-year-old spouse? What would they get? And I was sending it away. I was sending it to somebody else. And then I found out that it was actually so easy, I should have been doing it the entire time. You can do educational Medicare parts that don't require a sales event to be registered, such as how you earn Part A premium free. Those are the 40 credits for 65. What Medicare Part B premiums and IRMAA threshold are. So I like to tell people, in my presentation when I'm doing a Medicare 101 for somebody, I talk about IRMAA right there. I said, are you and your spouse over this income? Because I need to know, because you're gonna have some paperwork to file if you're gonna make a change in life. And a lot of times I have very high income earners and very low income earners. I don't discriminate. But a lot of my higher income earners said, Joanna, you're the first person who brought up IRMAA to me. A lot of people don't talk about it, but I was like, especially today, so many people, especially single people, are making over $95,000, because that's not a lot of money in today's age, right? So you could talk about IRMAA, and you could talk about what commercial plans they might need. You could talk about med subs all day long without a scope of appointment, right? And then one of my favorite things to do when I'm talking to someone about leaving their job, I'm not doing just their Medicare supplement prescription plan. I say, okay, Michael, you're leaving your job at Lockheed Martin. Did you have dental vision there too? Okay, I can do that for you too. Did you have life insurance at your job? You're gonna lose that when you retire. We're gonna have to write you a commercial policy that you own and control. I just have a couple more health questions I'm gonna ask you tomorrow, okay? By the way, did you have a retirement plan there? Would you like myself or one of my partners to talk to you about a plan that participates in all the ups but none of the downs? We can do that for you too. And you're doing more than just their health insurance. You're truly advising them. You're truly taking them, because most people, when they walked into my office at Social Security, they said, what do I need to leave my damn job? They had a lot, because they have a checklist in their head, right? They have a check. When I was getting out of the military, I had a checklist in my head of what I needed to do when I out-processed, right? And they have the same checklist. You can offer them critical illness. A lot of people need that sooner than later. Long-term care insurance, if they don't qualify for a standalone, they can do a hybrid on an annuity, and I'm sure Tracy's gonna talk about that later. But this lines it up, and you're gonna wanna tell them, you're gonna wanna find out if they're on one of those fancy medications that they can get prescription assistance on. And Norma's been educating us a lot on prescription assistance with manufacturers and stuff, a lot of the PAP programs. They're gonna wanna know how to apply for their Medicare if they're delaying their Social Security. A lot of people are not taking their Social Security at 65 because they wouldn't get their full check. Maybe they're still working, making good money. How do I apply for my Medicare only and delay my Social Security check? It's right there on the first page of Social Security's website, but a lot of people just don't know. When they don't feel like they know, they don't do. Agents are the same way. When you don't feel like you know, you just don't do, right? Now you know. When I talk about IRMAA planning, this is really important. I don't just talk about IRMAA. I say, Michael, when you and your wife file your taxes, are you filing married, filing jointly, or separate? Because a lot of people don't realize that if they file their taxes married, filing separately, they're actually gonna get penalized the maximum IRMAA. So I say, Michael, you're gonna need to file your taxes jointly next year, okay? And show this to your tax guy, because that's not my job, right? But people need to know this. Otherwise, they're gonna say, Joanna, I'm paying over $500 per each person. I said, well, you shouldn't be. You need to file your taxes right. You can always plan for extra help for Part D, Medicare Savings Plan, possibly even a Medicaid waiver. That's just generic information. The people here at the Sheraton who don't have insurance licenses can do that. You don't need an insurance license to talk about extra help for Part D. SHIP guys can do that. Anybody can do that. It doesn't require a license and stuff. But people need the information ahead of time, because a lot of times when someone walked into my office, they said, Ms. Ward, you gotta cancel this Part B, I can't afford it. $164 a month, I just can't afford it. And their check might have only been $1,100. And I said, you probably could afford it if you got the state of Georgia to pay for it, right? They said, well, how'd that happen? Because they don't know. They don't know. Nobody's telling them at 64 about the Medicare Savings Program or extra help for Part D. They might have a very expensive medication. They don't know that they actually qualify for it to be $10. They don't know. So you can always talk about this, and I talk about this all the time, and then a lot of people, they don't know what a Medicaid waiver is. And many agents don't know what it is because it's not talked a lot about in this industry. But a Medicaid waiver, I'll just talk about it briefly. If someone is disabled, it might be a disability after they turn 65, so they're not disabled by Social Security standards, but like dementia, cerebral palsy, being in a wheelchair even, something where they don't have the faculties to do all their ADLs. Usually, if they require an institutional level of care, the state will say, we're going to disregard your income because you're over the Medicaid threshold. We're going to disregard your income and some of your resources and give you full QMB and usually community services, which means usually someone's going to come to the house and take care of you because of your disability, because we don't want you to go to their nursing home because that's going to cost us a whole lot more money.
This video is sponsored by none other than Hire Heroes, you guys. Hire Heroes should be at the top of your list when considering your virtual assistant needs. Let's face it, today, hiring employees and hiring staff for your business is harder than ever and more expensive than it's ever been before. And when you're a new up-and-coming business in particular, or even if you're an established business, sometimes the squeeze of the financials of hiring somebody stateside can be incredibly challenging. What Hire Heroes brings to you is an ability to tap into their best of the best team members that you can plug into your business for very affordable prices. One thing about finding and hiring VAs completely on your own is it can get a little sketchy because you don't always know who you're getting and who's working for you. The great thing also about Hire Heroes is they've gone through and done the work for you of vetting the people that you're going to be working with, and the people that you are assigned are only the best of the best and the shining examples of excellence within the company. So you know you're getting top tier talent and you don't have to go through any of the time or headache of vetting people and trying out multiple people to get there. There's a link down in the description so you guys can learn more about Hire Heroes and getting help for your business today.
It's usually called a 1915 waiver in many states. If you just Google Medicaid waiver, your state, it'll usually come up. There's usually one for intellectual disabilities, like dementia, autism is a big one, people who can't live alone. How self-employed workers need to evaluate all their earnings, I just talked about this briefly, and make sure that they were accredited appropriately to their Social Security number. It's incredibly important, especially if somebody had a spouse, two spouses that own the same company. A lot of times I see that the wife wasn't credited with their earnings, and that affects them tremendously. Deciphering the earnings record. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree or financial advisor degree to help them read the first slide. Just go line by line and say, okay, this says that you're insured for your full retirement. This says that you're insured for spousals and dependents retirement. This says that if you retire at 62, this is what you would make. Do they have any excess funds to insure dependents? Sometimes if someone's Social Security is only $700, there might not be any money left to pay a spouse or disabled adult child on the record or a minor child. But if sometimes, like, let's say their retirement is $2,000, then there's usually plenty of money to pay a spouse or dependent. The lower threshold, the less money there is for a spouse or a child to claim the record. Should they file for disability, and are they insured for that? A lot of times when I meet people in their late 60s, or I guess early 60s, maybe they've been just working despite a disability. At the age of 60, Social Security says that they're unretrainable. So it's actually really quite easy to get approved for Social Security disability if you can't do your current job anymore. So a lot of times I find people with like rheumatoid arthritis or something, and I say, hey, let's file for disability at the same time you're filing for early retirement. If you're filing for early retirement at the age of 62 but get approved for disability, we can then pay you as your full retirement age of 66 and 8 months. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. That's 32% more that they would make. And then, do they have MQGE credits? Have y'all ever heard that term before? MQGE credits, Medicare Qualified Government Employee. This is usually with school teachers, police officers, firefighters, people who have a public pension, who don't pay Social Security wages because they have a pension that they've been paying into, but they do qualify and pay into Medicare taxes. So a lot of times when they looked at their earnings record, or maybe they called into Social Security, the Social Security rep is only looking at the Social Security wages. They might not see the MQGE credits. You have to specifically say, hey, Joanna, can you see if this person has any MQGE credits on their record? And they can scroll down and say, oh, there they are right there. Yeah, they're qualified for Medicare. Sure are. But a lot of these times, it's a manual process. The government, Medicare, Social Security is running on like a 1980 system. They haven't gotten ChatGPT yet, okay? So a lot of times you have to say, can you look for this? Is this person entitled to this? Especially if you're dealing with the teachers, retired teachers, government employees. I always ask their income, and I try to do it very politely. I said, Grace, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions to see if you're qualified or affected by any federal, state, or manufacturer program. Is that okay with you? So now that I told her why I'm being nosy, she's gonna answer the questions. If I just said, hey, how much you make? She could be like, why do you need to know that? You're being too nosy. You are the nosiest insurance lady ever, right? But if you tell them why, I'm trying to help you, I wanna make sure that we check all the boxes, then they're gonna say, okay, I'll tell you my income. But I'm first asking if they're affected by IRMAA. I wanna know that right off the bat. I want them to know that off the bat. I wanna talk about the SSA 44. Tracy, where's Tracy? He's in the hallway. He told me, he was like, I just found out about that form. I was like, it's a great form. They might qualify for extra help for Part D. Then your quote on Sunfire Connection might be completely wrong if they do, right? Maybe they don't have to worry about paying $6,000 in medications. They might qualify for Medicare Savings Program. They may qualify for SSI Aged. Who knows about SSI Aged in here? Who's been to, I know. You guys saw my presentation at Medicare Con. SSI Aged, I have a couple minutes, so I'm gonna talk about it. SSI Aged, very briefly. It's a federal welfare program administered by Social Security, which is what my previous job was. I did SSI Disability, SSI Aged, along with regular disability. When the day you turn 65, or the day before actually, you turn 65, Social Security no longer is seeking a disability criteria for that program. So let's say your Social Security retirement is pretty low. Maybe you were a blue collar worker, and that's usually where I see the low wages. In America, we pay our blue collar workers the least. I don't know why. My mom was a CNA getting paid way less than I did as a desk job, and my mom had to wipe people's butts. I thought that she probably got paid $100 an hour to wipe a butt, right? Just saying. But we pay our farm workers and people the least in this country. And usually when I looked at their earnings history, maybe they made $12,000 to $20,000 a year, right? They didn't make a whole lot. And so usually when their Social Security is low, the threshold this year is $934 for a single person. Write that down. If I see someone's Social Security amount and I say, hey, Michael, are you a single gentleman or are you married? He goes, I'm single. I said, do you have any other income outside of the Social Security check? Nah, that's all I got, man. I'm gonna tell you about a program that you might qualify for. I'm just gonna refer you over to it. The Social Security is gonna do their job, okay? If you make less than $934, you might be able to get full Medicaid from the government, federal government, not the state. The state is the one who authorizes it, plus extra money. Could you use some extra money? I know we've seen on Facebook where someone says, hey, somebody, their check is only $500 and I'm gonna help them get Medicare Savings Program, but what else can I do for them? I say, hold on, call Social Security with them. Because if their check is $500, guess how much they can get on Social Security SSI? $434 more. You don't think that's life-changing? They just nearly doubled their income, right? And so just all you have to do is refer. You don't have to know all the formulas and all the requirements and everything. Just be on the lookout to say, let's call Social Security and schedule an SSI Aged, AGED appointment for you. Let them do the formal decision. Maybe they have, a bunch of cards they didn't tell you about, I don't know. But at least they can get a formal decision. They might qualify for manufacturer prescription assistance. I've been learning a whole lot about that from my friend Norma Johnson. There's so much prescription assistance out there that most people don't talk about. Most people don't even know about. But if you put in, my friend is Google, or Norma's developing a database to help us all, and prescription assistance, a lot of times they do qualify for that even with Medicare. Some of them don't let Medicare Part D be a factor, but they might. And then I also want to know if they might benefit from a socioeconomical program, because I'm nosy and I like to help people. So if I can help them get Meals on Wheels or a Lifeline phone, heck, energy assistance. My dad gets energy assistance in upstate New York. It's $600 a year that he gets to fill his propane tank. You don't think that's life-changing for my dad? Right? I'm just trying to help people change lives. But people like that, when you help someone like that, say, hey, while I'm here, let's set you up for some social programs. They're probably going to send everybody, their mom, brother. You're going to, and Josh is probably going to talk about this later. You're going to be there's some influence in their life. They're going to say, can you help my mom? You know, I've helped people sign up for Meals on Wheels. Can my mom get that? Can my brother get that? Lifeline phone, same thing. Well, my mom needs a phone. She don't have nothing, right? Just become a resource in your community. So I would just want to briefly teach you guys about the difference between those two programs. You guys have probably heard me a million times on Facebook go, is it regular Social Security or SSI? Because you're saying it's SSI, but I don't think it's SSI. Michael's over here smiling because he knows. So a lot of people use the terminology incorrectly. Regular retirement disability, RSDI, that we work and pay into. The checks normally come on the 3rd of the month or a Wednesday based off of your birthday. So if your birthday is on the 29th of the month, it's going to come on the 4th Wednesday. Usually the old timers who have been late in age are getting their checks on the 3rd of the month, unless if they have Medicare Savings Program or are entitled or ever had SSI, they're going to get on the 3rd of the month. So if somebody gets QMB, I bet you their check's on the 3rd of the month. And so when someone says, oh, I get my check on the 3rd, you know what, that sends off bells in my ear. Let me look for a decent eligibility. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, you get your check on the 3rd? How much is it? You might already have Medicare Savings Program, and I don't have to do it, right? Saves me time. They might qualify on this record as a disabled adult child before the age of 22. If the parent was retired or disabled. My sister turned 18 at the same time my dad was turning 62, so she was lucky. My sister's autistic. She got approved. I helped her get approved at 19. People are like, well, how is Sarah getting a check and she's never worked? I said, she gets it off my dad's record. She got Medicare off my dad's record at the age of 21. She was one of my first clients, you know? But she wouldn't have had known about SSI or any of that had I not been nosy, you know? I was her sister, of course, right? You cannot get disability based off of a living spouse work except ESRD Medicare. So if you were a stay-at-home spouse, and this is really important in this day and age, if you're a stay-at-home spouse, taking care of all the kids and everything, and you don't have any income, and you become disabled, whether it's health injury or something, you're not gonna get Social Security disability or a Medicare. So what I tell spouses nowadays, okay, you can stay home and take care of the kids. I understand that. I would have a side hustle where you file some self-employment on your own credits. You know, I would help your husband with the business and take some self-employment if it was me, right? Just so you have your own disability credits, your own credits. Because we don't know what happens. I mean, I became disabled at the age of 24 from the military. Now, thankfully, I can still walk and talk and still have a capacity of work, but if that injury was worse, SSI, supplemental security income. This is the $914 single person I was telling you about. The married couple threshold is $1,300 and something. It's in the facts finder that I gave you in the form. It comes with full Medicaid. So sometimes you might get a letter if you help someone apply for Medicaid, and they might say, this person's Medicaid is not through the state of Florida, it's through supplemental security income. And that means that they have to change their address with SSI, not with the state. So someone moves, let's say someone moves from Florida to New York, and they have SSI, which gives them their Medicaid. All they have to do is call into Social Security and change their address and tell them where they're living and how much rent they're paying and everything, and then it automatically changes their Medicaid over to the new state. You don't need to do a new Medicare Savings Program application with the state. That's why I always say, what day do you get your check? Because if you get your check on the 1st, we're gonna call Social Security if you just moved. And a lot of times when people do get checks on the 1st, a lot of times they have housing insecurity, which is why you wanna make sure that they're moving and everything. Questions to ask. This is the chart. It's in your files that you scanned. You could see the different payment dates. I just show them this. What day do you get your check? It's a big thing, especially when they're planning what day they want their stuff drafted, right? How retirement credits are earned. This is what I think you should know if you're doing a Social Security workshop. In 2023, a credit is $1,640 in earnings. Let's say somebody had 39 credits and needed one more credit to get Social Security and Medicare, Part A free. Michael, I'm not a tax professional, but do you think you could drive for Uber for $1,640, have a bake sale, a yard sale, sell something on eBay? You can do self-employment many types of ways in 2023, right? You don't have to mow lawns. You could be something. You could fix somebody's computer or whatever. You can give a presentation, get paid. I don't know. You think you could find some self-employment to do so you can get that credit and file with the IRS? Just saying. I have 4 minutes left. Medicare qualified wages, I already talked about this. It's usually prominent in the government employees, firefighters, police, teachers. Teachers are big ones. This is what it looks like on the right-hand side. You see all those zeros on the Social Security taxes, but their actual earned tax Medicare is on the right. That's what an MQGE earnings statement looks like. That's how you can tell, oh, you're a teacher. Teachers, oh, they're also gonna, if they have MQGE, I didn't put this in here, write this down. They're probably gonna be affected by another crappy policy that we all hate. It's called windfall elimination provision, WEP. They're not gonna get their full Social Security. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna curse you out. They're gonna curse the Social Security rep out. They're gonna say, we need to call our congressman. I've probably been called the nastiest names by people who got WEP. I didn't make the law. The only way the laws change is if you go to Congress and make it a thing. WEP is a thing when it comes to people who have pensions. And government pension offset is the other one. How disability credits work. You don't really have to know this, but if you had the PDF, which is in your file, when someone asks you, if they randomly ask you, you just pull it off and read it. You don't have to commit it to memory. You don't have to know how many, hey, you got disabled at the age of 24, so you need 3.5 years of work history. You don't have to know all that. This is the chart. It's in the PDF that I sent you. When you follow up on applying, I only have 2 minutes left before they kick me off the stage. When you follow up on applying, if someone applied 2 weeks ago, they need to start following up. Don't wait a month, 2 months. I've seen people on Facebook say, oh, they applied 4 months ago and haven't heard anything. Why are they waiting so long? Call the local office, say, hey, Mr. Jones, can you adjudicate my record? Or do you need anything else to adjudicate my record? Call at 9 o'clock in the morning. Be nice. One of the things about the public, and I don't know if you guys, when I became a Medicare sales agent, I was like, people are really much nicer to me than they are at Social Security. When people used to come into Social Security, they came in screaming like we were Comcast, you know? They came in, like I was every name but Joanna, you know? And they wanted me to fix their problem that they created usually, you know? And I was like, you have to call and be nice so I can understand what you're trying to ask me to do. And I can't do my job if you're screaming at me, right? I can't think when someone's screaming at me. I'm sure you guys are like the same way too. So I tell my client, when we call Social Security, I had this the other day, I said, when we call Social Security, we're gonna be very nice. And we're just gonna, if they can't do it, we're gonna say, is there somebody else that can assist me today? And actually the rep on the phone, she did her job, just like I told her. My client was freaking out that she wouldn't get Part B for June 1st. I said, you're gonna get it. They changed the law, so we have to wait until May to apply for June, but you're gonna get it, trust me. And she was like, I don't think so. My coworkers tell me they had a hard time with Social Security. I was like, they were probably mean. Call and be nice. If you're working in a local area, like let's say Joshua was working in one area in Colorado, I would be friends with somebody at Social Security. I would bring in some donuts, some cupcakes, to thank them for their service. Nobody ever thanks Social Security employees, but we need them to do our jobs, right? We need them to adjudicate that Part B so we can go put our MedSup or our MAPD application in. Find somebody, just thank them for the job, let them know you're local. When I worked at Social Security and some attorneys were sending us, Christmas baskets full of goodies and stuff, guess whose forms happened to get slid to the top? When they called and said, hey, Joanna, I need you to file this 1696 for me to become this person's representative. I have court today. Okay, you did send us some cupcakes last month. Just saying, like, the nicer you are, the more, you get more bees with honey, right? Just saying. If I was an insurance agent, I would be sending some cupcakes. Document the person you speak to. A lot of times when I ask somebody, well, Michael, who did you speak to at Social Security office at Camp Creek? I don't know, some guy. They got 30 guys over there, Michael. So, hey, sir, by the way, what's your name? And they just have to give you a first name or a last name. They don't have to give you the full name. We don't like people to stalk us on LinkedIn or Facebook. I didn't change my name back to Wyckoff when I worked there because somebody did find me on Facebook, and it was really kind of weird. But they said I'm Joanna. Okay, they're probably only Joanna in the office. But when you call back and say, hey, I spoke to Joanna last Monday and she said she was going to process my Part B. I don't see it processed yet. Can you go ahead and ask her if she's able to do that? Sometimes people just need a reminder. They have a million things going on just like we do, right? When my desk at Social Security, I literally had stacks of work, and I had to decide who was dying first. It's unfortunate, but they're understaffed too. And always call at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're opening up, they have their coffee, they have their donut, they're happy, they haven't gone called nasty names all day. Just saying, I wouldn't call them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're short-staffed. People have already gone home at 3:30. They're trying to run out the door to pick up their kids. That's it. You could scan this to find me on Facebook, Medicare Mentors Media, my YouTube channel I'm working on, starting to try, and yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give it up.